Yep. Okay. So, something slow. Okay, let's get started with our opening song. Stand if you are able. Song of Praise. 1, 2, 1. Song of praise is a good way. It's a very good way. A song of praise is a good way to start your day. A song of praise is a good way. It's a very good way. A song of praise is a good way to start your day. Oh, glory, glory, hallelujah. Oh, glory, glory, hallelujah. Oh, glory, glory, hallelujah. Oh, glory, glory, hallelujah. A song of praise is a good way. It's a very good way. A song of praise is a good way to start your day. A song of praise is a good way. It's a very good way. A song of praise is a good way to start your day. Oh, glory, glory, hallelujah. Oh, glory, glory, hallelujah. Oh, glory, glory, hallelujah. Oh, glory, glory, hallelujah. A song of praise is a good way. It's a very good way. A song of praise is a good way to start your day. A song of praise is a good way. It's a very good way. A song of praise is a good way to start your day. Oh, glory, glory, hallelujah. 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 Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
Now, here's what I'm thinking. I think that, if Gwen and everybody plays that, I don't know, 2 or 3 or 4 more Sundays, I might try and finally figure out if you clapped that last time.
Yeah, only if you want.
I am glad that everybody's here today. My name is Dennis Ashley. I want to welcome you here on Mother's Day. And let's just see a show of hands, and keep them up there for a while so people can look around. A show of hands, whether it was a good relationship or a bad relationship, how many people here had mothers? Well, just to get us started, I asked Gerald if she'd come up and light our candle. Yay, Geraldine! And as Geraldine is lighting the candle, what happens is we get the chance to look at it from time to time during the service today. And what we get to do is look at it and just let that divine feminine just be lit within us. And it doesn't matter if we're better women, it doesn't matter if you're a mother or not technically a mother. That divine feminine is alive within each one of us. So, would you join me in an opening prayer? We hear the just say, Spirit of God, thank you. We always start with thank you because we have so much in our hearts, in our lives, in our relationships to be grateful for. There's challenges in life, no doubt about it, but instead, God, somehow, when we relax into that divine flow, when we light the divine feminine within us, we seem to be able to grace life with a naturalness that moves us deeply from within. And so we say thank you, God. So it is. So it is. Amen. And let me just mention that we've got the prayer vessel right up here. And I advise you either right after the service to put your prayer requests in there for yourself or for others, for a situation in your life or a situation in the world. That would be great. And it'll be here right after the service, and then we'll also put it outside, just outside the sanctuary doors.
Thank you. Please stand if you can. We will sing Right Where I Belong. 2, 4. Look at this glorious morning. Why ask for anything more? I follow where my heart leads. Walk through this open door. I've always been a seeker. I felt I was alone. Now in this room full of smiling faces, I know I found my home. This is where joy is, this is where love is, this is the place where I am strong. This is where eyes meet, where kindred hearts beat. I am right where I belong. Here in this space I'm accepted. I'm welcome just as I am. I'm ready to be inspired. Reach out a helping hand. This is a new beginning. Trust in my mystery. Now that my heart is open, no place I'd rather be. This is where joy is, this is where love is, this is the place where I am strong. This is where eyes meet, where kindred hearts beat. I am right where I belong. This is where joy is, this is where love is, this is the place where I am strong. This is where eyes meet, where kindred hearts beat. I am right where I
So I'm the celebration assistant today, and our speaker today is Susie Weller. Would you join me in giving her a big hand? And I was just telling Donna Hodge, I said, I haven't been the celebration assistant before. Man, there's a lot of stuff to do. So I want to welcome you to the Unity Center of Spiritual Growth. All people who wish to worship here today are welcome, and we just bless everybody, regardless of political beliefs or color or sexual orientations or shoe size or anything that you think you might have been judged on in the past. We're simply here to welcome everybody on their spiritual path. Let me introduce the musicians for today, the Doo-Wop Sisters, are Patty and Cheryl and Laura. We have Damon, And we have Paul, we have Gwen, and we have Kenny. Let's give Paul a big hand. And I want to thank everybody who helps make this service possible. It's just really interesting when you think about it, all the different people that are involved to make a Sunday service happen. And I think it's surprising sometimes, I think it is to me, that, sometimes you're talking 20, 25 people just to be able to get it going. If we have anybody here for the first time today, could you raise your hand? Anybody for the first time? Oh, right there. Good. Hey, thank you. I'm glad you're here. And one of our greeters is bringing by a couple of welcome packets, so we're glad to have you here on Mother's Day. It's really nice. And we also welcome anybody who might be joining us on live stream, whether they've watched us a lot or whether that's been something where this is the first time for today. Now, hopefully, all of you have seen the announcements because we try and show them before the service begins. But there's a couple of them that I'd like to highlight. First of all, I'm going to be teaching a class on the Dead Sea Scrolls. It's a 3-part class, so that's going to be May 11th, May 18th, and May 25th. We'll hold it here in the sanctuary. It'll be from 6:30 to 8. And so Susie's handing around some sign-up sheets if you'd like to come to that. I think it's pretty interesting because most of us have heard of the Dead Sea Scrolls. Most of us have heard that it was kind of an interesting find, but that's usually about the most that we know. And so it's really challenging, and one of the things that's almost hard to believe, the first year or so, it was like an Indiana Jones novel. I mean, the way things were changing hands, the way that people were absconding with the Dead Sea Scrolls, it was really something. Second thing is we've got a church decoration planning committee meeting, and that's going to take place May 15th. And if you're interested, there's a sign-up sheet out in the hallway. Third thing I'll mention is that on Saturday, May 21st at 10 o'clock, we're going to have a cleanup day. And, our community's getting a little bit bigger since the merger. And so we've got, Trish has been taking care of getting somebody to take care of the lawn, but we've got a bunch of sheds to empty, got a bunch of stuff in there. So if you have a pickup truck that you'd be willing to load stuff into, I mean, we'll have 20 people to load stuff in there for you, but a pickup truck or a trailer where we can take things to the dump, that would be great. And so we're going to empty those sheds on that day too. And then the last thing I'll mention is we had Richard Korchanski's memorial service yesterday, and I understand it was just a really nice service, that there was a large turnout for that. I think that's wonderful. There's a whole bunch of food left over from it. And so there's cookies, and there's, what do you call the little roll-up sandwiches? Yeah. Mm-hmm. What they said, yeah. So there's a lot of that, so we would invite you to impart. Okay, now we're going to have our meet and greet period. Please say hello to our two new folks. Don't overwhelm them, but yeah, but say hi. It's a nice chance to meet friends, and the gong will bring you back. Every Sunday, we have someone from the congregation read our daily inspirational blessing, and let me tell you, she is ready to go. She's in the front row. She's going, now, now. Nancy, now.
Oh, isn't change wonderful? It's like everything's changed. I don't know what we're doing, but I'm doing it. Whatever they ask me, I'm saying yes. Thank you. Happy Mother's Day, everyone. Everyone. The daily word today is on Mother's Day. I bless all mothers everywhere. The word mother brings to mind love, gentleness, nurturance, and compassion. Even if I did not experience these qualities from the woman who gave me life, I give thanks for them in everyone who has inspired me and touched my life. And I would think some men even are in that category. To my mother and to everyone who has blessed me with a mother's care, I send you love. I say a prayer of thanks for your presence in my life, for the sacrifices you made to give me the opportunity to grow and learn. You taught me the power of love and gentleness and the strength found in giving. You taught me above all to be true to myself. You are a leader who has taught me to lead by example. I send you thoughts of infinite love and peace as I join with others in gratitude and joy today. And from Proverbs 31:26, she opens her mouth and the teaching of kindness is on her tongue. Amen. Happy Mother's Day.
In preparation for meditation, please join in I Am Love.
Loving Spirit, on this Mother's Day, we give special thanks to the woman who birthed us, and we bless all the people in our life who have mothered and nurtured us, both living and dead. We bless all those who mother to find the strength and courage they need to gracefully face the challenges that caring for children often brings. May all mothers who are struggling be filled with joy, and may all mothers who are grieving, children who have died, pregnancies that miscarried or were terminated, be comforted. May all mothers who decide to give up their baby for adoption as the most nurturing choice for their baby feel at peace about their decision. And may all women who have experienced frustration and disappointment about their infertility be consoled. May all children who grew up with mothers who were not able to express loving support, or perhaps hurt those when they should have expressed care for, be able to find ways to forgive and move forward. Today, we celebrate all of the ways we have mothered and nurtured ourselves to fully express who we've come here to be. For all these intentions, we give thanks. Good morning. It is a pleasure to be here. I'm grateful for Pastor Dennis inviting me, and for Jellen and everyone and our musicians who created a wonderful space today to celebrate our physical mothers, but also I want to celebrate that mothering is not limited to biology, and that I want to honor the divine feminine within all of us. And also, someone asked me, well, do the guys get the flowers today? Yes, we're celebrating the divine feminine within them as well. So I want to look at today's daily word, and what I was most aware when Nancy was reading it is the power of that message, that it is celebrating motherhood within all of us and the gifts of the divine feminine that is expressed through all of us to make our world a more welcoming and nurturing place. In 1990, when I was working for Head Start in Spokane, the Mary Cliff Institute started to pioneer a new form of parenting model called the Circle of Security. And in that, they talked about the two hands of parenting. And on one hand, I would call it the more mothering within all of us, that feminine dimension, was that place where we all welcomed people and children felt like they had a safe home and haven, where they were welcomed to be who they were, as they were, no matter what. There was this welcoming and this acceptance. The fathering hand of this circle of security was more, now that you feel welcomed and secure, go out and explore. Go and express who you are, and life is an adventure. Go and enjoy it. So we don't want to live life in just one hand or the other, but I really look at this mothering, this fathering, is this circle of security of both hands. And so today, because it's Mother's Day, we're focusing more on the feminine, but I'm hoping on the Father's Day we would say that that's also within each of us as well. I'm particularly aware that sometimes people who are biological mothers, for all kinds of reasons, weren't able to be the mothers that they wanted to be. Today for me is a charged day. It's a bittersweet day because I'm celebrating that with my husband we have 2 adult children, but my mother also died on Mother's Day 44 years ago. And so I was 23, but she died to me emotionally when I was 18 and when my brother was 17. So what I want to invite you today is that if your biological mother, for whatever reason, especially because she had some mental health issues, wasn't able to be the mom she really wanted to be, I was feeling bereft. I was feeling like a motherless child. And so when my father remarried, the woman he chose to be his wife was willing to be that role, but she wasn't willing to be a mother or a grandmother. And I was feeling the need for both. So I asked my Aunt Jane, my dad's sister. She had lost her youngest child in a car accident in her mid-20s. And she was feeling the loss and the emptiness of that loss of her child in her life. So when I asked her, Jane, would you be willing to be more than just an auntie to me? Would you be willing to be a mom to me? Would you be willing to be a grandmother to our 2 children? She gracefully and thankfully said yes. And so for the next probably 40 years, she welcomed us. It was birthday cards. It was special events she would show up for. And she was truly present for us in so many ways. And I really benefited from having that mothering presence in my life. And so did our children in terms of a grandmother. And when she died about 3.5 years ago, she called us in October and said, Susie and Mark, who was very active in caretaking for her as well, I'm dying with the cancer. Come now. So we flew to California, and we were there for the last 3 months of her life, and it felt like the full circle. She had mothered us when we most needed her, and when she needed it, like the infinity symbol, we were there for her, especially because her biological children were scattered geographically and not able to be there in those last 3 months for her. So I was very grateful for the qualities that she showed me about mothering. So all of you should have a little card. We've got more, and for those of you who are watching on Zoom, we have extra at the church for you, and Nancy is going to pass out any others if you didn't get it. But this is almost like the sermon in a nutshell, is looking at who has been a motherly presence in your life. And the reason I share about my Aunt Jane is that I'm encouraging you that if for any reason you don't have that biological mother presence in your life, that you be proactive, that you look at how could I create a relationship that gives me that kind of nurturing motherly or perhaps grandmotherly love, and that we can create that circle of support, that circle of security if we perhaps didn't grow up with it. When you look at one quality that this nurturing presence, this mother might have expressed to you, I'm thinking of, my mother was a full-time worker, and so she didn't have a lot of time for cooking meals, but she always made sure that even though we were literally having canned chili for dinner, it was put on nice china with a tablecloth and flowers from our garden and candles and instrumental music. Why? Because she wanted to set the ambiance tone that at least some part of the day, all 4 of us, my brother, my dad, and my mom and myself, would be gathered to hear about the ups and downs of our day. I'm reminded of the Obama family. that when President Obama and Michelle were in office, even though he was incredibly busy, they made a priority to have a family meal. And one of their traditions was to talk about the rose for the day, meaning what was the blossom, what was the gift of your day, and we want to share that and celebrate that. The other thing they asked about was what was the thorn in your day, meaning what was something that was painful, that was distressing. And the point is they made space for both. And that's what I think good mothering is about, is making space for the good times and also a safe haven for when times are challenging, that you are safe to say what's really true, what's going on for you, and you will not be judged or criticized. Now, thankfully, Mark's mom, my husband, Ruth, was a great cook. She had 7 sons and 1 daughter, and I am blessed that Mark learned how to cook, clean, do caretaking, so our kids got a lot more than just, canned chili growing up. And when we moved to Spokane about 33 years ago from Seattle, we had, both of us thought, well, who's going to be the working outside the home and who's going to stay home with the kids? And we decided that whoever was the one who got the job with the most benefits and the best pay would be the one working outside the home, and the other would stay home. Well, I started working for the community colleges. I started working with Head Start parents and teaching parenting classes, and Mark was the stay-at-home parent. And you know what? Our kids blossomed under that caretaking. And that's what I want to invite today, is just the gift that mothering is not limited by biology. And that he was a witness when he would volunteer in their preschool and also in their elementary school, that yes, fathers can do that caretaking qualities as well. And that was inspirational for them. They didn't know that was possible. And he became a nurse. He's got 4 brothers that are nurses as well. So that sense of nurturing and support and truly empathy for people who are in need has been modeled in so many ways. I want to look at in particular that one of the challenges of growing up with my mom with some mental illness was I began to have compassion for her when I was recognizing that some of her traits were really intergenerational pain. And I started to do some research on the family lineage and recognized there was sexual abuse, there was mental illness, there was abandonment in many ways. And so when I started to recognize that that's how she had been parented, and in fact, she and her younger sister both were required by their parents to go to summer school when they were young so that they could graduate at age 14 from high school and go to college, both of them. Can you imagine a 14-year-old going to college? And so for my 10th birthday, I got a 3-piece set of luggage. Like, here's your hat, what's your hurry? That's because she was parenting how she, how she had been parented. And so I began to have compassion, that's what she knew. So at age 12, barely age 12, and my brother was 10, going on 11, my mom did have a heart for people in need and to be of service, and we had grown up in an upper middle class family in the San Francisco Bay Area. And she wanted us to know that what we were taking for granted is not true around the world, and she wanted us to be world citizens. So she sent us on a plane by ourselves, transferring in Los Angeles to go to Mexico City to live with a family we'd never met for 6 weeks, to go to school, and no one in the family spoke English, except for the dad, and he was working and gone most of the time. So my brother and I quickly learned some Spanish and to adjust, and it was my first experience with international travel. One of the gifts of being in Mexico City was that we got to go to the Basilica of Our Lady of Guadalupe. And for those of you who are growing up with a Hispanic tradition in California, Our Lady of Guadalupe is such an iconic image of the divine feminine. And so I'm very grateful that I had a chance to, when I saw that image, some of you know the story, that an Aztec peasant, mestizo man, poor peasant named Juan Diego, and this is around 1531, when the Spanish conquistadores were overtaking Mexico and treating them with incredible disrespect, that he had this vision of this woman coming to him, and he opened his cloak, and inside this cloak was this incredible painting, which is called Our Lady of Guadalupe. And when I looked at it, Her skin was dark. She looked Aztec. She spoke to him in his native language. And for those who had a sense of God who was out there and removed, I grew up with blonde-haired, blue-eyed Jesus and Mary, this made it very real for them that the divine was within them and very present to them. I'm aware that because I felt like a motherless child, that one of the verses that has spoken to me the most is from Isaiah. It's from chapter 49, verses 14 and 15, and it says, "Even if your mother would abandon you, even if she would forget you, I will never forsake you." Let me say those words again. I will never forsake you. This is Jesus also continuing images the divine, referring to God oftentimes as the divine or mother hen who guides. So those of you, I know, think of Roy and all her chickens. When you think about those hens, protecting, from the raccoons and other predators and others who provide shelter under their wing to nourish, protect, and enjoy, that was the image we would have of this divine presence in our life. And that was a verse that really spoke to me, that I could call on this divine feminine presence, energy within and without to really help me parent and grow. When I look at working for the community colleges and working with Head Start parents, I'm very clear that I was teaching parenting classes and teaching the very thing I needed to learn. And one of the things that was most helpful for me is the book Growing Up Again by Jean Isley Clark and Connie Dawson. And what they recognized is that even if you didn't get what you needed prenatally or in those developmental stages before you left home, guess what? It's never too late to grow up again, which means they have all kinds of affirmations about celebrating, I'm glad you're here. All of your needs are important. You can express all of your feelings and they're safe. Those are incredible affirmations, and for anyone who's interested, I'm happy to send you a free copy from the Cycles of Development from the University of Maine for these parenting classes because they reparented myself the pieces I missed out on so that I could help give that to our children, who I think are much healthier because they had the modeling of their dad and my Aunt Jane and others to recognize my own deficits. But I also think I was a better teacher because I knew I needed to learn and to grow in areas that I hadn't received. How many of you have ever had a math teacher who was a whiz? And you just going through it really quickly. It's like, okay, why didn't you get it? They weren't the best teachers, in my opinion. The ones who were the better teachers were the ones who struggled with math, because they knew step by step how people get triggered by it and how difficult this is, and to walk step by step. I believe I was a better parenting instructor because I was learning with the students, and they knew that I was growing with them as well. 2 weeks ago, Reverend Dennis talked about soul friends, about the Anam Cara as being part of our sacred contract. And I believe those who have been part of our nurturing community surrounding us, those are wonderful Anam soul friends. But he also said something that really struck me. And that's when you talked about those who've been a pain in the ass. You didn't use those words. But they are basically what I would call those who have been a pain in our lives, and that this is a sacred wound. So today I wore this jewelry from Mexico because it reminded me of a teardrop, that the very thing that has been most painful in my life about parenting, about nurturing, is my sacred wound, and it is part of my purpose. So when you're talking about the sacred contract, I think about it as the 4 Ps. The first P is what gives us pleasure and joy. The second P is what has been painful in our life, our sacred wound, and those that have been part of that sacred contract. Why? Because it's creating a passion, a third P for us, to create more healing in the world because of the pain we have experienced. And then the last P is these possibilities lead for a pathway to live our unique purpose and service in the world. So in addition, I give credit to Brian, because I'm not following my PowerPoint exactly, so kudos to you for hanging in there. I appreciate it. But to get you on track of where I'm going now is I want to celebrate two Marys in Jesus' life. The first Mary was his mother Mary. Now imagine for a moment that you are, even today, an unmarried woman, betrothed but unmarried, and you could get stoned for being pregnant in those days if you weren't married. And all of a sudden, she's finding out she's pregnant, and what's the angel's first words to her? Fear not. Isn't that the message of comfort that we often need to receive when times are tough? Fear not, we're going to find a way through this. So blessings to Joseph as well. And then, I don't know about you, but in my last stages of pregnancy, I would not want to be riding on a donkey going to Bethlehem. Really. I mean, I couldn't even wear my shoes. I had to wear my husband's shoes. My feet were so swollen. Okay, so I'm on a donkey, and then there's no place to deliver this baby? Are you kidding me? No place? The only place I can find is a cave? Now, I've been to Bethlehem. It's a cold cave. Now, I'm sure the animals were helping to breathe, but really, I'm not even sure I want this baby, and all of a sudden, I am delivering this baby in a cave, and then 2 years later, the King Herod is afraid that my child is going to be the king of the Jews, who's going to do a Roman uprising, and they're killing all the baby boys 2 years younger, and so now I've got to become a refugee. I've got to leave with my family and leave with whatever as quickly as I can to go to Egypt, a foreign country where I don't know the language perhaps, I'm not familiar with the culture, I don't have a support system there. Does that sound familiar today? Of people who are refugees, who are of no fault of their own, are having to escape for their lives and the trauma that is. For me, there were two Marys at the foot of the cross when Jesus was experiencing the crucifixion, as well as the beloved disciple John. This, for me, is the crux of feminine spirit of mothering. I can't imagine, as a mother, watching your beloved child be tortured, humiliated, and then an agonizing, painful death on a cross. Not a quick death, but an agonizing at least 3 hours with broken bones. For me, this is the epitome of mothering, that we are present to pain that we cannot fix. Let me repeat that. That's my 1 minute warning. That we are present to the pain of those around us, even when we can't fix that. And Mary Magdalene was there too. She was also the first one that Jesus appeared to, and in the early church she was known as the apostle to the apostles. I'm going to give a plug for Dennis's talks on the Gnostic Gospels and from the Dead Sea Scrolls. One of the ones I particularly like is from Nag Hammadi, is the Gospel of Mary. And it wasn't included in the canon because I believe it was too threatening for them to have this image of woman who was partner with Jesus. And in the Gospel of Mary, it records Peter as being jealous of Mary of Magdalene. How come he appeared to you first? How come you know more things than we do? And so I look at, we're celebrating Pentecost, which is on June 5th. And it's a time in between the resurrection, the ascension, and then this time of great fear. And so we look at how Mary of Magdala was this partnership with Jesus and a partner for us of women in ministry, women in leadership, who calmed the disciples and encouraged them, that spread the good news. And when you look at the story of the boat of Mary of Magdalene, there's a legend that she was sent on a boat with no sails and no oars to southern France. This is sometimes a soul wound, that in the persecution of the Christians, Christianity became more than just a sect within Judaism. It became a worldwide religion because people had to leave home because of the persecution to share that. And so we celebrate the gifts of these two Marys, who are also known as the goddess of compassion with Kuan Yin, with Mary Magdalene, and also Mary, the Black Madonna. These are all, for me, the infinity of embodying the grace and the jewel of the divine feminine within us. And because we have received, then the other side of that infinity is that we go and reflect. So as you take a moment to reflect on all those who have nurtured you in your life, as you hear, this one is for you, Mama, I hope that you will celebrate their jewels that are living and embodying in you, that you reflect out to the world.
All the things I never said, I'm sorry that I never did. Thank you for your precious time, for teaching me how to climb. I love you more than summertime. You've been such a good friend of mine, and every sacred word is true. I learned to love because of you, and and it was good and full of kindness. Every step I take, we held my hand and watched me grow. You'll never know how much I love you, and I am not afraid, I'm not afraid. I finally grew. Mama, this one's for you. Always look beyond the dark. You told me joy lives in the heart. Life is what you make of it. Make sure to cherish every bit. Oh, Mama, I saw the world, and it was good and full of kindness. Every step I took, you held my hand and watched me grow. You'll never know how much I love you, and I am not afraid, I'm not afraid. I finally grew, and Mama, this one's for you. Mama, this one's for you. Mama, this one's for you.
That was so pretty, thank you. And would you join me in giving Susie a hand? Nice job. Now, I do want to make sure that you understand when Susie quoted me as saying something was a pain in the ass, I want you to understand that was translated from the original Greek. Now, we've reached that time in our service when we have our love offering, and we ask everybody to give of their financial gifts, except if you're here for the first time today, please don't feel any need to give. Instead, we'd just love to have you just be our guests, because we're just grateful that you're here. And we always have someone from the congregation come up and read our daily prosperity blessing. So, Donna?
We have come to that time of the service when we share of our financial blessings. So we invite you to immerse yourself in the flow of the Spirit of God within you. Feel the current of the universal mother move through you. Let this alignment with the divine feminine remind you of the blessings that have touched your life in 1,000 years and 1,000 ways. You are in the flow even now. You give and you receive within this river of life, nurtured and loved. And so it is, God. Namaste.
These are the gifts of the goddess, love, joy, and peace. Gifts of the goddess, are you ready to receive? All the gifts of the goddess, love, joy, and peace. Gifts of the goddess, are you ready to receive? Love, are you ready? Joy, are you ready? Peace, are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready to receive? These are the gifts of the goddess, love, joy, and peace. Gifts of the goddess, are you ready to receive? The gifts of the goddess, love, joy, and peace. Gifts of the goddess, are you ready to receive? Passion, are you ready? Forgiveness, are you ready? Are you ready? Laughter, are you ready? I am ready to receive. Passion, are you ready? Success, are you ready? Abundance, I am ready to receive. These are the gifts of the goddess, love, joy, and peace. Gifts of the goddess, are you ready to receive? All the gifts of the goddess, love, joy, and peace. Gifts of the goddess, are you ready to receive? Ready to receive. Are you ready to receive?
Now, I had the chance to sit up here, and you don't know how much Nancy and Kathy were getting into that song at the back. Would you join me in blessing these love offerings? So, Spirit of God, we say thank you. We are so grateful. The financial gifts are important to the church, of course, but what's far more important is that we understand the divine nature within us, the divine feminine that's there, that always blesses us every moment of every day. We are thankful for all the different ways that we have been nurtured and loved in our lives. And we say thank you, God. And so it is. Amen. Now, in theory, I think the kids should be right outside those closed doors there.
This light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This light of mine, oh, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Oh, everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go,
And this is the future of Unity, so I'm really glad that you're all here. Amber, what went on today?
Well, good morning. Happy Mother's Day. Today we spoke about gratitude and specifically about ways we can express our gratitude to our moms or motherly figures in our lives. And so I have two kids who have volunteered just to say what they are grateful for about their mom or motherly figure. Scarlett?
I'm thankful for my grandma because having with my mom.
And Maisie.
I'm thankful for everything my mom does for me.
All right. Thank you.
And so thank you. This would be a great time to return to your parents or grandparents or whoever brought you. Look around and I hope you all understand what a remarkable thing that is. I've been with Unity about 40 years, and as I've talked to different kids in the Unity movement, they said one of the great things was they learned how to speak in front of a group of people, which is number one on the greatest fear in the world. So I think that's really something. So Amber, we thank you for all the work that you do. Thank you very much. All right, let me invite you to stand and join hands if you'd like to, and we'll sing our peace song.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God our Creator, family all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my song about. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
And would you join us in the prayer of protection? The light of God surrounds us.
God protects us.
Wherever we are, God is, and all is well.
And happy Mother's Day, and don't forget there's a whole bunch of snacks out there.
Of the goddess, love, joy, and peace. Gifts of the goddess, are you ready to receive? All the gifts of the goddess, love, joy, and peace. Gifts of the goddess, are you ready to receive? Love.
What's the name of this trio now?
What do they call us? One of the band is called Soul. Remember? Spiritual Oneness Identity.
Yeah. I like the big eye. We like it better too.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's like
And the way of other things up there.
The stage is so small. Yeah. Coolio. Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm hoping when it gets more,
Yeah, yeah.
still my number one
Happy Mother's Day.
Right? Probably.
all I can say
Yeah, because my mom texted me your numbers and I broke my phone and lost all my numbers.
are you still the same number?
Yeah.
Okay. And the other thing is, if you have your car back,
Well, yeah, I can get it out. I have my little truck now.
all right, well, if you